I'm Rachel Dunham, the Community Engagement and Volunteer Coordinator here at the Xerces Society. And it is weird to be on the other side of these webinars, but really excited to chat with all of you today about my gardening journey. So, I did briefly want to do a little bit of background on the Xerces Society. For some of you, this is review, but for those of you who maybe are new to our organization or have never been to a webinar before, very warm welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are a nationwide nonprofit that works to conserve and protect invertebrate species. And our namesake comes from the Xerces blue butterfly that was last seen flying in 1943. And it was the first butterfly that we know of that went extinct in North America due to human activity. And this butterfly really inspired the Xerces Society to be founded over 50 years ago. We do a variety of work. We do habitat creation and maintenance. We work to reduce pesticides across the landscape, whether that's nationwide, statewide, or on a community level. We also do a lot of research, community science, and species protection. And we're also really taking a deep dive into policy. And we do a lot of outreach and education. Partnerships are truly such a huge part of who we are as an organization. We are very collaborative. We could not do our work without our partners, whether that's government agencies, other nonprofits, universities. We have amazing volunteers, whether they're community scientists or our ambassadors. So if you are one of our partners, thank you so much for joining us in this effort. We could not do it without you. And lastly, I just want to thank our donors that are on the webinar here today. Without you, we could not do our work, me especially, and all of the programs that I run. We are a donor-based nonprofit. And so if you are interested in learning more about what it means to be a donor, you can scan this QR code with your phone, or you can go to xerces.org/join. Truly anything and everything is helpful. And thank you again for our donors that are here today. We appreciate you. Last month, we kicked off our Bring Back the Pollinators webinar series for the year, and we talked about the Bring Back the Pollinators Pledge, which is an older campaign, but we just did a relaunch, technically starting this Tuesday, which is very exciting. And the four main principles of this pledge is to grow pollinator-friendly flowers, provide nest and egg laying sites, avoid using pesticides, and sharing the word. So for this entire year, we're going to have webinars on how to actually implement these different principles. And if you have not signed the pledge and you're interested, please go to bringbackthe.pollinators.org. So today we're going to talk about what it looks like to implement this pledge. And there's two different examples. I'm going to start and then I'm going to hand it over to Jennifer. And I am remiss to not say how honored I feel to present with Jennifer today. She is just an incredible human being. And I've had the pleasure of being a colleague of her for several years now. So I'm just feel a little like starstruck to be co-presenting with Jennifer on this webinar today. So a little bit about my background. I am truly here for the newbies, pun intended. I do not have experience in gardening. Coming into homeownership a few years ago, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. My background is actually in wildlife biology, and so my career has been solely focused on vertebrates. Coming to Xerces really opened my eyes in the world to invertebrates and the importance of habitat for invertebrates. And so the only experience I really had coming into this was planting native trees and shrubs. So I do have a little bit of experience in Portland. I worked for a couple of years, or excuse me, a couple of months for Sound Native Plants. And it was a great experience. I learned a lot, but truly coming into gardening felt like I really don't know anything. And that's okay. It's a learning experience. So I hope that whether you're a new gardener or you've been gardening for years, you can learn something from me today. And I'm excited to share my experiences with you. So to lay the groundwork of the property that I will be talking about today, I do live in Missoula, Montana with my husband, Chad, who I know is on this webinar. Hey, babe. So we purchased a home 3 years ago, and this is an aerial photo of what our property looks like. We're very fortunate that we do have a pretty big backyard and a lot of space. Being in Missoula, we do have all four seasons. So winter, technically, or typically winter is pretty cold. This winter has been really unusual for most of us across the country. In the summertime, it gets really warm. And then we have those bumper seasons where we get cooler temperatures and more rain. We do live in the county. If you drive 5 minutes down the road, you'll be technically in the city. So we are in the valley of Missoula. However, that does mean our property is a little bit bigger. So we have about a third of an acre. We are also on a septic system, and this is important for two reasons. One, because when they put the septic system in 70 years ago, we're still using the original. They took all that soil out of our yard and replaced it with not very good, really hard clay soil that's really difficult to grow anything in. The second part of this is looking ahead. One day the septic system will fail. I dread that day, but it will eventually happen. Or we might be put on city sewer. And if that happens, we do have to retire our old system and either dig up a new system. And maybe we don't have to dig up a new system, but we certainly don't want to put a lot of habitat in a place where we're just going to end up digging it up. And so that's something we've definitely thought about when we thought about planning. We do not have an HOA, which we're very fortunate for. However, we do love our neighbors. We're very fortunate that we live in an awesome block with a lot of really great people. So we try to be mindful of everything that we do and how it might impact them. We also don't have kids, but we have lots of backyard barbecues in the summertime. We have friends with kids that come over, and we do have a pet. His name is Bear. He is the cutest dog in the whole world. We love him to death, but he doesn't really know the difference between lawn and my garden or stepping on the flowers. He's broken several of my pots. So he is an 80-pound dog and has a tendency to sort of just go everywhere to chase the squirrels and the deer. So just something that we have to keep in mind as we plan for habitat. When Jennifer and I were planning to do this webinar, she asked me if I could put in my beginning goals. And I took some time to think about, well, what were my beginning goals? And it truly was just to do all the things. When we purchased this house, there was a lot of work that needed to be done on the inside. We had to do an entire rewire. We painted every single wall in the house. We had to put new flooring in, new plumbing. We had to finish the fence line. Needless to say, for the first 9 months, I was not thinking about putting habitat in the ground. I was not thinking about the backyard. We just needed to get it to a place where we could live in the house and have housemates. But when we did come around to the part where we could possibly do things, I just wanted to do everything. At this point, I had been at Xerces for 4 years, and I had been telling people, put in native plants, leave the leaves, make stick piles. And this was the first opportunity that both my partner and I had to actually do something, because we both moved around so much that we never had this opportunity. So we were excited, wanted to do all the things. So a couple more photos and some background on what our property looks like. This is our front yard. Unfortunately, Zillow just deleted all of the pictures that they had when we purchased the house, but it doesn't really look very different from what it looks like now. So this is a recent photo. We have a lot of lawn in our front yard. We also have these two giant Siberian elm trees. One of them is actually listed on the state registry as one of the largest elms in the state. And we do love them because they give us shade in the summertime, but they've become sort of a hindrance, which I will talk about later. We also have a few of juniper trees or bushes. You can see those in the front. Those are non-native junipers. We also have tons of lilac trees. The previous owner really loved lilacs. And although they're not native, they do provide really awesome floral resources in the spring for our pollinators. This is our backyard. Again, I don't have original photos of the backyard, but we do have lots of space to work with. These are lilac trees in the corner, the right-hand corner of both of these photos. We also have an awesome apple tree that we love, and it's just a buzz when it's blooming. You can go out and see tons and tons of bees, which is always exciting. We have a tall Oregon grape that popped up somehow in the last couple of years. We have several ash trees that are not native and grow really quickly, so we've had to manage those. We also have a few plum trees. And in terms of where we could put native plants, it was quite limited, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But we do have lots of space to work with, which is really nice, and we feel very fortunate for that. A couple of challenges that we have faced. One is deer. We have deer in our backyard all the time, and they eat everything. They will come up on our front porch and eat our pumpkins. They will come up and eat the flowers. So that has definitely been a barrier when we think about putting in habitat. The second question, or the second challenge that we really face, is irrigation. So we don't have an in-ground sprinkler system, and with 1/3 of an acre and a lot of lawn, it's a lot to water. We are on a pump, which we're fortunate for. We don't have to pay for our water. It's just the electricity. And I know that's a barrier for people because water can be very expensive, especially in the summertime when you're trying to water your property. But we have what I call the hose octopus in our backyard, because we have all these hoses with all these sprinklers. And it might seem simple, but it's taken me more time than I'd like to admit to figure out how to water all of this lawn and to water our plants. And so when I am thinking about putting in habitat, they do need water to establish our native plants. And so I do have to think about, does the sprinkler reach there? And if it doesn't, how am I going to add another hose and another sprinkler? And it does cost a lot of money to do this as well. So that's been something we've had to figure out. And if any of you are on a pump, you know that water pressure changes as well. So that's always fun to deal with, of how far that sprinkler will reach and for the amount of time. We've also had a couple unexpected expenses and things pop up. This is a picture from 2 summers ago. We had a massive, unprecedented windstorm in Missoula, over 100-mile-per-hour winds. I know Jennifer dealt with something as well. And I know a lot of us are dealing with these natural disasters. So we had these winds pop out of nowhere. We, went out that evening, and this is what our house looked like. Totaled my car. We had tree-sized branches fall on our house from those elm trees. Needless to say, in July of 2 summers ago, we did not think about putting habitat in the ground or any other projects for about a year. It took us a really long time. We had to redo the roof. And even with insurance, we still had to pay out of pocket for some of the tree removal that fell on our neighbor's house. And then this last summer, we had them come out and trim more of the branches hanging over our house. So we recognize that sometimes there are things that have to take priority over building habitat. The silver lining to all of this is our dog loved all the sticks. He was super excited. But we also were able to create a lot of great habitat with these branches, which I'll talk about later. So a couple of things that have been pretty easy for us that we've been able to do and experiment with. One is leave the leaves. We do have an electric blower that we use, and we rake our leaves, and we literally just put them on the outskirts of our property in the backyard, as well as underneath the trees, underneath the shrubs, and now we put them in our garden as well. And then we leave a light layer on our lawn. And our climate, it just works out that the leaves are moist, they don't move, they stay there, and by the spring they decompose. So we're very fortunate that we don't have to get rid of our leaves. We can leave them in our backyard, and it's just a really simple thing for us that we're able to do. No mow May has been a little more difficult and a little more complicated for us. I convinced my husband, who does most of the lawn mowing, I would say 99% of it, I think I've mowed it maybe twice, that we should leave it for the whole month of May. And it was terrible because our sections of our lawn are totally different. We have some areas that have some awesome floral resources for bees, which is great. But then we have other areas of our lawn that got so tall you could walk through and see hundreds of mosquitoes coming out of, because it maintained moisture. We also had oxeye daisies break out. They spread super fast, crazy, all over half of our lawn. And so we've come to an agreement where we mow the part where the oxeye daisies are, or the lawn grows really fast. And then whenever there's floral resources, we leave that part of the lawn. And that's what makes sense for us. We also mow the front, in part to keep our neighbors happy, but also because we don't have any floral resources in that part of the lawn. Although I do have a bee lawn sign that I put in the front yard. So no mow May doesn't work for everybody. You got to kind of figure out what works best for you. And we kind of learned the hard way. So thank you to Chad for dealing with mowing all the crazy lawn that I made you keep for an entire month in our backyard. As I mentioned before, we have a lot of stick piles from our trees, and it's great. The picture on the right-hand side is about 7 feet tall, and we've been consistently contributing to it over the years. We put some of our lawn clippings there, we put some leaves there, but anytime I walk over there, I hear all sorts of noises. I see things flying in and out, and it just makes me happy. I can see it right now from my desk, but I think it's beautiful. Some people would say it's messy, but I love that we have these stick piles and we can just leave them in our yard and provide overwintering habitat. So for floral resources for native plants, this has been the more frustrating part of my story. As I said, going into this, I really just didn't have a lot of experience as a gardener. I have become really good at inside plants. I have about 100 and I'm obsessed with them, but I'm trying to transfer those skills to outside, but it's very different. So the first summer we were here, I went to our local nursery. I spent a lot of money throughout the year on a lot of different plants. And I'm sorry to say, but none of them survived. Literally every single one of them died. And I felt like a failure. I felt like I can't tell anybody at work, I'm going to get fired. I felt like this just isn't for me. But I kept going. And I have to thank everybody who's done webinars at Xerces for their encouragement and recognizing that our plans don't always go to fruition. So this is the one garden bed that has really worked out for me. Over the last 2 years, we have discovered that the Native Plant Society in Missoula, they will propagate plants in their own backyard and sell them at the first farmers market in June. And we stumbled upon it. We got really lucky. And so their plants are also very affordable. So for the past 2 years, I've purchased a bunch of plants from them, gained as much knowledge as I could, try to get bee-friendly plants. And I've also figured out that they need more water. I didn't water them enough the first year. And so this garden bed is what it looks like this summer. I'm happy to say the second year, all of them survived that I put in the garden bed. The other part of this elm tree being trimmed back is that we now have more sunlight on this garden bed. It was really shaded before. So some plants made it, some plants didn't. And then I also went with putting plants in pots, and that worked really well for me. I don't know what the future is of these plants. I'm going to try to put some more in the ground. That's kind of my plan for next year, try to make more space for them. But I bought about 20 plants and all of them survived in pots. So that to me is a success, and I'm happy. I'll take it. This was one plant I just wanted to share because I bought it 2 years ago, and the woman at the farmer's market, it's a tailed kittentail. It's native to this area in the Pacific Northwest, and she said it's quite finicky. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm killing all the plants in my yard. Why not get a finicky one and see how that one does? I thought I killed it, but this is what it looks like this year. This last spring, it popped up, and lots of little bees were visiting it, and it grew even more over the summer. So I just take that as a success, and I just felt really good about myself. And I love wildflowers. It's a beautiful flower. So you got to take your wins when you get them, and just know that you're not going to keep all your plants alive. Some will die, and that's okay. Doesn't mean you're a failure. It's just part of being a gardener. The other thing that we added in our yard, have to give props to my husband for this. This was his pet project this spring. He built this entire thing himself, mostly from recycled materials. This tiny garden bed here was the original garden that we had. So last year we thought, let's expand it. So we did, and he went really big, and I loved it. So we had lettuce, I put in some sunflowers, we have strawberries. The rhubarb came with the house. It's a massive rhubarb plant. But we had tons of tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, broccoli, bok choy, cabbage, carrots. What else did we have? We had a bunch of peppers, and we also had, what are those red vegetables? I'm totally blanking on the name. I'm going to move on. Anyway, the garden was a huge success, and beets, that's what they're called. We had probably 25 baskets of produce. I saw tons of invertebrates throughout the summer in the garden. I'm terrible at taking photos. I apologize. These are the only ones I got. It was a dead dragonfly and some awesome spiders that we found too. But it was just really cool to have such a successful year. And I'm already planning what seeds we're going to start and try to get those in the ground. We had some hanging baskets on the outside of the garden, and I should have thought about this before with the deer. Some native flowers, they all got eaten by the deer. So this year we're going to put them on the inside. This is also an awesome area for us to put more native plants in because it's fenced in. And my husband also put an irrigation drip system in that's on a timer. So it's very low maintenance for us. We probably need to put mulch down because we do struggle with some invasive species coming up. But it's been really fun. And I'm just really grateful to Chad for building this. I never could have done this by myself. And I honestly didn't help very much. I was more on the plant side. But it's just a really fun thing to see succeed. And I'm excited to expand it and put more native habitat in there. We did also have a lot of herbs that we let flower as well, which was fun to see the bees visiting. In terms of future plans, there is this little area underneath our front windows that I have tried to put in plants left and right, and they've all died. I did put in some native wildflower seed this last summer, and it actually did pretty good. So my plan is to take this juniper plant out and then put some sort of brick wall to build it up a little bit and bring some soil in. The soil here is really, really hard. It's also west facing, so it gets really hot and dry in the afternoon. That's been another difficult part as well. And then the sprinkler game, I will not get into the sprinkler system, but it just needs its own irrigation system. It needs its own sprinkler. But everything I've tried to put in pots in the front has died. So I've had a lot of losses, but I'm excited for future plans, excited to see what I can make of this. And the important part of Bring Back the Pollinators for this is I do want to put a sign in our front yard because all our habitat is in the backyard and I want people to see it. I want to educate our neighbors and say, hey, you can do this too. So I'm hoping I can just have a little sample plot, and we'll probably have to put some sort of netting over it so that the deer will stay out, but I am excited for that. So lots of lessons learned. I will end on this one lesson. And Jennifer, really, if you have not listened to her bug banter episode that came out last week, it's wonderful, Lessons from a Gardener. And this was something that she had sort of touched on. But I think when I started out, I really focused on trying to control everything, going into it with this expectation of I'm going to spend this money, buy these plants, and they will succeed and I will make it happen. And then I learned, oh, wait, that's not how the world works. That's not how gardening works. I need to work with my yard and I need to go into it as an experiment that is more fun and flexible and less controlling. So it's been a really good lesson for me on a personal note. But now I'm more excited to go in because I'm taking what I've learned and trying to move forward and not putting unrealistic expectations on myself and the success of my garden. So thank you, Jennifer, for all of your wisdom and helping me through this journey. And thank you for listening. I hope you learned something, but I'm excited to pass it off to Jennifer, who has a lot more experience with gardening than I do. But thank you, Jennifer. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Rachel. That was wonderful. And I'm just really honored to be able to share this webinar with you too and learn from you as well. All right. Just a brief bit of background. Just like Rachel provided, my professional background is training in entomology and ecology. And so my personal background is I just love gardening ever since I was a kid, just being outside. We had a vegetable garden and a flower garden. I loved it. And as an adult, I started gardening with native plants in pots because my husband and I made a lot of different moves over the years for education or for jobs, and so we were pretty mobile. So we lived in rental facilities, and so that's where I learned to grow native plants at first was on balconies of shady apartments and or in community gardens. So when we finally landed more permanently in Omaha, Nebraska, we bought our first house. Just like Rachel, Omaha is um, in the central plains and has four seasons, two of which can be extreme and sometimes harsh. Our neighborhood is a post-World War One neighborhood, so Omaha had a housing crisis right after World War One, and so many of the houses are compact and then also on compact lots. Our particular lot you can see has an unusual orientation. Rather than the rectangular orientation of many lots, ours is a pie shape because we're on the curve of our street. So most of our garden space and yard is not in the backyard, it's in the front yard, stretched across, both in front of our house and on the sides. We don't have a homeowners association. We do have kids and a dog that use the space, so we use it to recreate and explore and all sorts of things. So it has to serve a lot of functions. We do also grow food in our space too. And probably unusually, I hope for most people, is that we do have lead in our soil. And that's a artifact of a lead smelting factory that operated in East Omaha for 100 years. It turns out that it is really important to measure air pollution in terms of its impact on people because it did deposit lead over a 27 square mile area. It's the largest Superfund site for lead in the US. And although our house is actually outside of that Superfund site, there's still lead impacts that are at problematic levels. So that really impacts how we garden for sure, and also how we avoid tracking soil into the house and so forth. So that's some of the background for our space. This is what the front view looks like, the front yard. This was taken last November. The edge of the property is this U bush line over here on the right of this picture, and the property extends all the way over to the edge of the other side. So you can see it's not a large space, but we do have trees, the native landscaping in front of the house and along the sidewalk, and then along the side of the yard, and a raised bed um, in the front yard as well. We use the lawn area for sledding in the wintertime. There's a gnome garden, and then we play soccer and ball and so forth off to the left over here. So this is how it began years ago. In 2013, we moved in the fall, and there were only 8 species of plants on the lot, 9 if you include the Kentucky blue, the bluegrass lawn. So Not a lot of diversity. We had a lot of gaps in bloom. There was not very much that bloomed. We had several trees that bloomed in the spring, and then the only things that were flowering later in the year were daylilies and hostas, neither of which are really um, very high quality for pollinator resources. We had just moved from Michigan in a rural landscape with lots of natural areas, and I really missed the feeling of having the ability to see wildlife right outside my door. So my goal, a lot like Rachel's, was to do all the things, but in particular, I wanted more wildness in our space. Balancing it with our small space, the small area of the yard, and then all the other needs for the yard too. I just wanted to have some wildness. So specifically, I wanted to increase native plant diversity. So we had season long bloom. I really wanted to be able to walk outside and see something. I wanted lots of color. Had some plants that I really loved that I wanted to grow. Long term, I wanted to screen the backyard a little bit more. And then I also really just wanted to enjoy it. I didn't want to feel pressure for it to look a certain way. And I didn't want it to be stressful either. So I was comfortable with it taking a lot of time. And what often happens when you first buy a house is, of course, that money can be tight. And it was for sure in our case. The first thing we did was to take out the two tall yew shrubs on either side of the house. Those were blocking light into the house and blocking views for the windows. And very, very, very little wildlife uses those bushes. And I also could not trim them even with a ladder. So there were a lot of reasons why those needed to come out. But we left the two lower bushes because funds were tight. So the first year, the first spring following moving in, we started small. Along the sidewalk were hostas and daylilies, and they had been there for many, many, many years. And if you're familiar with those plants, you know that they just pretty much multiply in the space in which they grow. And so they were packed so tightly in there. And you can see that this photo was taken in late May or early June, and they were already blocking a large part of the sidewalk. So we took those out and gave those away and planted in about 12 to 15 species of native wildflowers and grasses along the sidewalk and down that slope. So we started very small that first year. I also did some seeded areas in the backyard, which you'll see a little bit later. That was the first year. Year two, um, we took out the yew bushes right in front of the house and then planted those areas to wildflowers and grasses as well. And you can see that there's more growth. The picture on the left of the screen was taken in early June, and the picture on the right was in late September, just mirroring those images from the previous slide. And at this stage, when I went outside and walked around, I could see things flying around. I could see life. I could see insects. It was wonderful. I felt like I'd reached my goals. Mission accomplished, done and dusted. Except I had really only just begun because gardening is not this straight path. It's not linear. And it definitely does not have an endpoint. So the next 10 years are the period that I call in which I learn from my garden. And during this time, we did expand the plantings along the sidewalk. We planted some shrubs along the fence to the backyard. We removed sod and planted more perennials and grasses. We planted some more flowering trees. And along the way, I made many mistakes, which is really just part of learning. Um, and the garden taught me quite a few things along the way. To start, as you can see from all these images, it looks very different every single year. Some years the color is just absolutely stunning. Other years plants didn't show up. Some disappeared entirely. They were shaded out by other plants, or we experienced some prolonged drought. Um, some became some years it was more wild and overgrown than others, but every single year it was truly unique and different. And it was also largely beyond my influence that it was unique and different every year. So some of the things that I've learned from my garden include site preparation. Um, Site preparation is when you prepare the site in order to plant into it. And what I've learned is sometimes you need quite a lot of site preparation and sometimes you do not. For me, in the do not category, when I expanded gardens into our lawn, the easiest way for me to remove sod, and keep in mind again that I don't have a large yard, so I remove sod with a soil knife, and I would just slice underneath the sod and move it. If you have a large space, it probably you might, if you're trying to remove sod, you might need something more extensive. But for me, it was really easy, and then I could plant right into that soil, and I wouldn't need solarization or other types of long-term site preparation. However, when I planted into the space where those yew bushes had been occupied right in front of the house, I really underestimated a few things. One, I underestimated the ground cover, which was called snow on the mountain, that had been underneath the yew bush that I didn't even know was there until the yew bush came out. And from the moment when sunlight hit that ground cover, it was living its best life and just exploded. And I underestimated it. And then I also underestimated the gravel that somebody had put in previously as a weed barrier in that space underneath the yew bushes. And although I raked quite a bit of it out, I really didn't do a thorough job. And I'm still fighting the snow on the mountain, which is an introduced um, plant in the family Apiaceae, and I'm still struggling with gravel in that garden too. So it really is important to do a thorough job up front. It saves you time, removes competition, and gives your plant it's the best chance to thrive. I also learned that plants can um, grow. You're thinking, yeah, plants grow. Yeah, I know that. And yes, they absolutely do. And I guess to be more specific, I learned that when they have reduced competition, they can grow even more than you might expect, even more than in natural areas. So when you space out plants quite a lot, they don't have to compete as much for water and for nutrients and for sunlight. And it does mean that they can get taller than they might otherwise in natural areas. And things that were already competitive become even more competitive. So even though I'd considered height of different plants when I tried to do my best to design things, it didn't really end up going to plan. Um, so it's always important to consider height for your various goals, of course. And it can be important to think about too how much competition they get. So what I've ended up doing to adjust is to add in competition, to add in more grasses underneath my wildflowers, to plant more densely so that plants do have to compete more. It's also okay to move plants when they're not appropriate in your space. If they get too tall, it's totally fine. Dig them up, find them a new place for them. And I've also learned it's totally fine to trim plants during the growing season too. Certainly for the first couple years, I worried about it quite a lot. Like, what if I stunt its growth or Eh, but these plants are really well adapted to disturbance. They're pretty used to in the wild lots of pressure from grazing animals and browsers. So they do just fine with trimming. And that can sometimes contain some of these plants and keep them more balanced in the absence of competition. Plants also do move. And if you can plant a species somewhere and it seems like it might be just where you want it, that plant might not want to stay there. It can move sometimes a distance away. So this is the backyard. And it's when we first moved in, I just had some leftover wildflower seeds. So I sprinkled it around. And on the far left, that's what it looked like in the first year or two. And then a couple years in, I planted some hep plant, which is a really beautiful tall plant. It does really well in more moist soils. And Omaha is on the western edge of its distribution. So I thought, great, this will be great right near the downspout off the house. and it will help soak up water, and it will thrive. It did not thrive there. It wanted to be 8 feet away. And it slowly over time moved. Well, it made a big jump and then it moved and grew and grew and grew till the current day on the far right hand of the slide. It's pretty much a cut plant forest over there right now. And what I learned from that was that although I had been thinking about on the right track with putting it by the downspout, I hadn't really taken the whole landscape context into account and realized that the water flows off the driveway down into that low point as well as from the downspout. So that whole low point where it's now thriving is a perfect place for it. So when plants move, they have a really good reason for it. I've also learned that plants can help. And what you can do is figure out what you need in your space and think about how plants can help you. The cut plant experience really helped me to start thinking about plants more functionally as ways to solve problems. So, for example, when it came time to think about a privacy screen, or at least um, creating more of a visual block to the backyard, I thought about tall shrubs and tall plants that could break that up a little bit. And I also thought more carefully around the areas with the flow from downspouts, finding more plants that can thrive under those more moist conditions. And native plants can also thrive in areas with poor soil. So in my case, covering the soil was really important, and we had an area near the street where the sewer system had been redone, and we couldn't get lawn to grow. But what did grow were seeds and wildflowers, from wildflowers and grasses that just blew from the earlier plantings down into that space, and they just flourished down there. So native plants can cover soil really effectively and grow in many places that introduced plants cannot. Gardens can also help us. They've been really good exercise physically for me. They're also really valuable for mental health as well. Nature and green spaces provide benefits like reducing depression and reducing stress, helping people with memory, helping people focus better. These spaces are really important, large and small, to our health. Gardens can also be really helpful to memorialize loved ones. We have plants that we've grown in our garden, for example, that help us remember and honor the loved ones that we miss. And plants can also be really helpful in connecting to neighbors and community. We give away our seeds, some seeds that we have extra of, and many prolific plants as well. And our neighbors, who are really wonderful and excellent native plant growers as well, do a lot of outreach from their driveway when people come by and ask them questions about species or what they like to plant. It's just a wonderful way. Plants are a wonderful way to connect in communities. And over time in the garden, as as Rachel mentioned, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is just adapting and learning to adapt. I feel like gardening has helped me become a lot more flexible in many, many, many ways. And our needs change over time, and it's okay to have the garden change with them. One of my children told me strongly several years ago, for example, that the cut plant forest in the backyard was too much habitat, Mom, and I need more room to play. So we took out some of that area, no problem. We also had a request for more raspberry bushes, so we made room for those as well and took out some of the native plants back there too. Our yard in the front, when we moved in, there was a 75-year-old black locust tree, probably 60 feet tall. We have our neighborhood, because it's older, has a lot of mature trees, which is wonderful. And this tree was a prolific bloomer in the spring. It was buzzing with bumblebees often. It was great for shade in the summer. When we had storms and we lost electricity, we'd spend the days outside underneath the tree in the shade. So it was an important part of our space. And as Rachel mentioned, we had a bad windstorm come through, one of the many extreme weather events that we've had in the US, and we lost the tree. And this is the footprint of it on the other side off to the right. The It's so tall and so big above ground, and of course there's all this biomass underground that we don't see until you try to replant a new tree. And so it had an extensive root system, and so instead of going with another large tree, we planted quite a small tree, a serviceberry, and then some sandhill plums over here on the slope. Another element of adapting is dealing with weeds and pest pressure, and managing those can be a challenge. A lot of the species that I struggle with in my space are invasive species in other areas too, and they're invasive for a reason. They just flourish under a lot of other conditions, and they don't have a lot of natural enemies and pressures on them. And there's no silver bullet for controlling these species. But the way that I manage them in my space over the years that I've found to be more effective at limiting them, if not eliminating them, because that's never going to happen probably, but limiting them with the weeds that I face, pulling them before they spread by rhizomes, and certainly before it flowers and seeds out again. So those are just steps that I do. And every year, if I can keep at it, the population gets smaller. For the pest insects that I face, the biggest pest in our yard is Japanese beetles, pictured in the lower picture, the lower inset there. They skeletonize the roses and the raspberries, but otherwise aren't a, a threat to any other plants. They're just kind of a pain. But because they do knock back those plants quite a lot, I do intervene. My method is to take a bucket of soapy water, and we get out there and just knock them in the soapy water. And we usually do that in the evenings when they're moving slower. But it's important to target that pest management technique, because while I don't want the Japanese beetles, I don't mind things like this spotted grape beetle up in the right corner. That's an herbivorous scarab beetle also, and also munches on the plants, but the scale of damage that they provide is very different. So I don't mind that type of herbivory. So targeted pest management is important. Also, adapting as needed is figuring out how to manage the garden over time, because plants need management. They need disturbance in some ways. It's built into natural systems, and it's important in gardens as well. And in fact, in years when I was a little bit more low maintenance, those were the years when I lost more plants, because the biomass that can accumulate can smother and suppress growth and diversity as well. So for me, what works in our yard is to remove old growth. We leave it up during the fall, as you saw in an earlier picture. We still have lots of stems standing, and that's great for birds that come and feed on those seeds. And I like the visual in the wintertime of having that habitat around. It's also habitat for stem nesting bees and other critters that use stems. And so I do remove it in the spring, starting sometimes mid-April, maybe a little bit earlier in the year, like to this year where we've really just had a very mild winter. And it takes me maybe 6 weeks to trim it all back. So I'm moving slowly, and that's um, kind of mimicking how it happens in nature with browsers coming and slicing off the stem. In this picture here, you can see the little tiny head of a tiny carpenter bee that's drilled down into the pith of this ironweed stem. Let's see, other things for ongoing management that I keep an eye out for. I look out for seeders, plants that spread by seed quite a lot. And in my yard, that's a couple species of asters and also Joe Pyeweed. they they're great for filling in gaps, but also they can crowd out other things. So I deadhead those often, or I will collect the seeds before they spread and then give them away. And then I mentioned earlier, I add layers where needed to add in more competition, and then also um, to just increase diversity underneath woody, like underneath trees and shrubs, woody plants that are just planted on their own to add in layers of vegetation underneath. Just like Rachel, we had a couple of trees come down, and we moved the logs and turned them into habitat too. So in this log's case, this is behind the garden along the fence, and then we have a pile of logs in the backyard also. And logs are overwintering habitat. There's lots of things that hang out underneath them in the winter, spiders and beetles and flies. And then inside, sometimes you get animals like the best beetle, which hopefully the picture will pop up. Oh, hmm, there it is. Okay, great. Beetles like the best beetle, which actually live inside rotting wood. And best beetles create little family colonies. They communicate by making different calling noises. Just really charming insects. 5 years ago or so, we read a book called On Meadowview Street, and my older child really fell in love with the idea of creating a backyard pond. And so we did. We just jumped right into that. That was the pandemic years, and so we were looking to try some new things, and really brought us a lot of joy boy to create it, and it was really a learning curve as well. But we have really loved seeing all the dragonflies and how wildlife use that pond in our yard. And one thing I mentioned earlier is that, of course, the gardens change from year to year. Every year they look different. Of course, they're also changing through the seasons. They look very different in the wintertime than they do in the spring and the summer. And something is always changing in the garden. There's always something to see and something to learn about. And it's been absolutely wonderful to walk out the door and see wildlife. And it's definitely on a small scale, but absolutely cannot be beat for the diversity that you can find in your own space. It's just tremendous. Um, and with that, I really want to advocate for the the art of being a bug watcher in your space. There's something to hear with songs from insects. You can see beauty, you can see diversity, amazing new behaviors. You can make discoveries in your own yard. My next door neighbors, who I talk about frequently, but they are amazing, did a bunch of monarch tagging this year between their yard and our yard, and tagged over 100 monarchs and recruited the kids to help. Then we also had this just wonderful luck this fall of having migrating dragonflies come through, and they did a feeding stop in our area, and it was just wondrous to see, 500 dragonflies circling about feeding. Um, we've seen at-risk species in our yard. The Southern Plains bumblebee and the American bumblebee, it's just absolutely incredible. So you can contribute to collective knowledge and to conservation as well. And at Xerces, we have lots of resources to help you along the way. Rachel mentioned that we have monthly webinars coming up around Bring Back the Pollinators, including some Q&A sessions. You can find more on our website. And then, of course, we have lots of recordings on our YouTube channel. We have Bug Banter, our wonderful podcast. Rachel is the host along with Matthew. It's excellent. And we have new Bring Back the Pollinator resources, including a gardening almanac, and plenty of resources you can download, plant lists, regional plant lists, nesting and overwintering habitat guide, so you can learn more about timing of trimming back plant stems and more habitat. We have a backyard pond guide in case you are also interested in creating ponds. Lots of technical resources to help you do whatever you want to do in your space, large or small. Doesn't have to be as wild as mine. It can be whatever you want it to be. We also have a habitat assessment guide for yards and gardens. And this is just a way to sort of take a step back and analyze what you have and what you might want to have in the future. So it can help you score. It's a relative score only. So it doesn't mean that there's a certain threshold of good or bad, nothing like that. It's just a way to compare and help you analyze what resources you may want to have or could include. We also have books as resources available through many libraries or anywhere you like to buy books. And I want to just end on a final note, noting that what you do in your space, whether it's on an apartment balcony or in a yard or in a rural area where you have more areas, creating habitat, reducing pesticides has direct benefits to your space. Certainly in my space, it helps me grow food more effectively and it brings me endless wonder and joy and education. So it brings me direct benefits, but it's also everything that we do is part of reversing insect declines. So what you do really matters. And thank you. And you're welcome to reach out to Rachel and I. And I think also we have time for questions, Amber. Is that right? Okay.
Yes, thank you both so, so, so very much. Lots of comments in the chat that you're both such an inspiration. Everyone appreciates the personal experience stories. And we do have a lot of questions. Unfortunately, there's no way we're going to get through them all in the next 20 minutes or a half hour. And if anyone needs to jump off, if you have another meeting, this webinar will be recorded, including the Q&A session. So you can check that out later when you have more time on the Xerces Society YouTube channel. But we will try to go through as many as we can right now. So either of you can take an attempt at answering this one, but a couple questions on effort and energy on whether or not you think it's better to remove non-natives or to focus your energy when you're getting started on planting and installing more native trees or shrubs.
What do you think, Rachel?
Oh, I feel like it's such a balance. You pick and choose based on what your priorities are in the season. I mean, just even listening to Jennifer, I was like, oh my goodness, I need to do way more prep than I thought before this next season, but it will save you time in the future. So I was like, wait, do I just do prep this year and then plant next year? Or maybe just choose a small section and do both? I think it's just so dependent on where you live and what your yard looks like and what your priorities are and what you want to plant and what your invasives are. I think it just feels so individual.
I think that's exactly right. Yeah. Introduced species can still provide valuable resources. So I think it's just a matter of picking and choosing what it might be just fine to leave it for a couple years or even more. Um, and just work around it, especially if you enjoy it.
Thank you both. Yeah, it definitely is. Each person's experience and garden is different. All right. We also had a couple questions about the stick piles. Chris would like to hear more about stick piles. How dense and big should they be to provide habitat? They're curious what insects could be using them. Should they be in a sunny spot or a shady spot? And then also some people who live in more fire-prone areas. Are there different alternatives for stick piles, or is there a safe distance to place them?
So good questions. Um, there is no set size limit on stick piles. Just go for it. Things that use stick piles include all manner of overwintering insects, especially if they overwinter as adults, like lady beetles, lacewings, sometimes queen bumblebees. Sometimes bumblebees create colonies in stick piles. Um, Spiders overwinter in stick piles or take shelter in stick piles. Sometimes butterflies will overwinter in there too, just all sorts of things. So there's no size minimum probably that's valuable or maximum either, because On larger scales in agricultural landscapes, we recommend brush piles too. So brush piles can be enormous. So just whatever you can work with, I think. For fire prone areas, yep, that's a real risk. You don't want it to be any sort of fuel. Um, Keeping it away from structures or anywhere else that I think, yep, just considering the distance, making sure perhaps too that there's like a fire break in between might be important. Rachel, did I miss anything? Um,
I don't think so. I know rodents, some folks have had issues with that, but ours are really far from the house. So we've not had any problems with that. But that's the great part about stick piles. Like we didn't think about it. Like, let's just put all this stuff in the corner of the yard because I mean, we probably took 20 to 30 truckloads of debris to a dump site after the storm, and we still had those giant stick piles left, and we try to keep as much as possible, but that's the nice thing is you build it and they will come, and in this case, you just build it however you like. I would say whatever's easiest for you. That's what we that's what we did.
Thank you. Yeah. Again, I'm sure like the answer to so many questions will be like it can all depend on your specific conditions too.
Mhm.
All right. Faith is wondering, when you shared about your produce garden, Rachel, do the non-native produce plants like that still benefit pollinators as much as natives? And they're wondering, do they host any pollinators or mostly only provide something for them to feed on?
That's a good question. And I'll be honest, despite the fact that I have like some background in plants, I feel like Jennifer could probably answer this more because we've had like similar produce that we've grown. But I definitely like there's a lot of bees that pollinate like our tomato plants. We saw so many bumblebees, and a lot of our plants do get pollinated by native pollinators. So not all of them do, but a lot of them do. And like the herbs, for example, I know you're not supposed to let them flower, but we let ours flower. Some of those are great for native pollinators. So yeah, I don't I don't have a ton to add to that, but I think what I want to do is add some native floral resources that are not produce plants in our garden because it's fenced in and we can easily add water to it. So that's like a goal of mine in the future. We really just focused on produce, but I did see a lot of pollination happening when we were out there. So yeah, that's all I have to contribute. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm not answering the question very well. I'm not an entomologist and I'm still on my learning journey. So Jennifer, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, I think that's right. Yeah, garden resources can be really beneficial to all sorts of insects. There isn't anything, well, I think somebody asked, is there anything that hosts anything? And
Hmm.
there's squash bees that are specialists on cucurbit pollen. So that might be a good example of what I think you're asking, whether or not there's something that really benefits from specifically from a garden plant. Um, but that's what I've got, and I think Rachel was right on. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Amy is wondering, should we be planting a large variety of native plants or multiple individuals of the same type of plant to encourage pollinators?
Yep, that's a good question. Excellent question. Actually, that's something that I thought about when I first got started. I did want to just add as much diversity as possible, and then I realized if I only have one plant of one species, then I'm not actually, I need more resources. It's not going to support a population of specialist bees, for example, because they need enough pollen to get them through the season. So that did make me rethink, and it is a bit of a balance. If you do have space limitations like me, then diversity is great, but you do need more individuals and higher abundance of plants. So um, yeah, so we're thinking about. But also, it's also okay if you just have one individual of a really cool plant that you like. There are no rules here. You can just enjoy it. But to benefit, if you're looking to benefit something in particular, yeah, it's good to have more individuals.
Heard like the rule of three that it's good to have like three plants of each type, but that's not always realistic for space. And if you're trying something and you buy three, like I bought a few lupins in the front yard and they all died. I was like, why did I get three? And they all died, and I'm so sad. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna learn, like, get one, and then if they do well, get another one the next season if there's space.
That
Yeah.
sounds like a metered approach.
It's a really good one.
All right. Let's see. Uh, Karina, Xerces staff, hi Karina, wants to know, how do we know which stems to keep that will provide nesting habitat and which ones we can remove because they're unsuitable for invertebrates? Are there regional plant lists that specifically highlight plants with habitable stems?
That's a great question, Karina. We do have those regional plant lists, and they do highlight. I think there's a special icon that indicates wildflowers that provide nesting habitat, but we also have an internal nesting habitat database. If you have specific questions, you can always reach out to us about that. Um, so what I will say is that that knowledge about use of um, stems by bees is limited by observation. So there are probably lots more species out there that's serving as stem habitat for bees, and then also overwintering for other things like wasps and spiders too. Um, so that's the caveat. Probably a lot of stems serve a purpose, and we just don't know about it. So I guess the way that I would say it is keep all the stems in the fall and then trim them back in the spring, maybe in a rolling basis so that you have some standing later into the spring, and then some that you cut early. That way, and it's also okay to trim some of them in the fall, recognizing that you still have some habitat that's going to be available next spring. So the way I think about it too is in a wild area, that's all going to be happening throughout the winter. Something's going to browse and trim it back.
Mhm.
Um, so if you think about it like that way, you don't need to be weighed down by guilt if you do need to trim some stems. Leaving some stems is just fine. And definitely a little bit of length is important. So sorry, let me put my hands up here. So anything over 8 inches is good for when you do trim it back. If you need to trim it closer to the ground, try to trim it 6 inches because stem nesting bees do, the longer the length, the better, the more individual eggs that they will lay and the more they can rear. So that's another good consideration is that height.
That's excuse me, that's perfect, Jennifer. Thank you. I was actually just about to ask a question about this, but I think you've touched on all the points, but I'll ask it anyway. They're always second guessing themselves on when to clean up the wild area in particular, and keeping it available for habitat. Do they cut it all? Do they do it at a certain point in the spring? How far down to cut it back? Just if there's any other notes for that question you had.
No, I definitely like to do it on a rolling basis so that there is always something newly cut and available for things that emerge early. And then you're not removing a lot of things off site. And then there's available something later in the growing season for those species too. Um,
Perfect, thanks. Okay, switching gears from plants to water. A couple people were curious about watering, specifically if you could recommend overhead watering versus drip irrigation, specifically for pollinators. I imagine like if it would knock them off. They didn't elaborate on their question, but just which watering technique might be better.
I don't have a lot of experience with watering. Um, Rachel, do you want to weigh in?
I mean, we water our lawn really early in the morning, especially just because the moisture will maintain better. And so I feel like a lot of pollinators sort of wait till it's a little warmer to come out. So I wouldn't worry about them getting like hit by water. The irrigation drip system that we have in our garden that my husband put in, part of that is to maintain moisture in the soil. And it's just way easier than it's more precise than an overhead sprinkler. If we could have drip irrigation everywhere, I feel like that's what I would do, but it's just not practical. So I think what's most practical in your space and what makes the most sense for you is what I would recommend.
Thank you. All right, Rachel, another question for you. A lot of people were curious and appreciated your strategy of trying to put native plants in pots. And then they were specifically wondering if you did anything to overwinter them. Some of the pots looked plastic, some of them weren't. Did you have success? Did they survive over winter? Did you bring them inside?
Those are great questions. I just have to laugh because I didn't do anything. And now I'm like, I maybe should have thought of that. That's part of the lesson, right? I will be honest, I have to say TJ Maxx, I'm just gonna put a plug. Maybe that's not, I don't know if we're allowed to do that. As a personal note, not for Xerces. They're a great company, but they have awesome frost-resistant pots, and they're really inexpensive compared to other places. Unfortunately, Bear has broken several of my pots this year because that's where he runs out in the yard. But I don't know, some of them are plastic, and we don't have snow cover this year. We've had so little snow, and it's gotten really cold. So some of them look okay, and then some of them look very gone and dead. So I'm in the very experimental part of gardening where I'll find out this spring to see what has survived and what hasn't. But I think the plastic ones, I did think about that going into the winter. I was like, I don't know if these ones are going to survive. But I also, for funding purposes, I was like, I just only have so much money and I don't want to spend all this money on all these pots. And so I just did what I could. And yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I have a good answer for that. Um, but I have heard other people in the community, they're like, oh no, without snow cover, all my native plants are going to die in their pots. And I thought, uh-oh, but we can't control if there's snow cover. So
Right.
we'll see, but I know some will survive, and that's my goal. If I have like a couple that survive, I'll be happy, and then I'll just do better next year and buy more pots that are more frost resistant. So yeah, it's a great question, and I apologize. I don't feel like that was helpful at all. I hope it was, but
I'm sure it was. Don't worry. All right. This one I think we're going to get into later this year with a longer talk, but do you either of you have any quick recommendations on how to talk to HOAs about gardening for pollinators? Just surface level, since I know we have, I believe, actually, I don't want to speak incorrectly, but I believe we have something scheduled.
I don't know if we have a webinar scheduled yet, but we are working on it right now, specifically on how to work with HOAs. So there's definitely some great resources coming. And I do not personally have experience, but I know that our awesome ambassadors and some of our staff in our B cities have worked to talk to their own HOAs and do presentations because some of them just don't know. And no one's ever brought these topics up, whether it's like mosquito spraying or not allowing you to have native plants in your front yard. And so I think just having a conversation is a great first start in offering to present or provide resources would be what I would recommend. I don't know if Jennifer, you have any other recommendations?
I think that's right on. Um, Oftentimes is yes, just exchanging information to get the ball rolling. Um,
Speaking of exchanging, some people were curious about sharing plants and if there's any concern about sharing soil from plants dug up in your yard from person to person, yard to yard, spreads of diseases, insects, pests, weeds.
Good question. Yep, be careful you don't have a weed hanging on in there. I think one big issue to think about is if you have jumping worms that are really prevalent in your area. It might not be a problem for your part of the country, or even if you live in an urban space, sometimes they're more prevalent in forested areas, but sometimes they can be really abundant in cities. And in which case, you could exchange plants by knocking off your dirt and giving them a bare root or giving them seeds. That would be a good way to share your plants without spreading jumping worms.
Thank you. Good tip. All right, back to watering question. How often should you water your native plants during the establishment period?
It's a good question. It probably depends on how much rainfall you get to, um, and the timing of the rainfall, and also when you plant. So I'll just say for the central states, it can be really beneficial to plant in the spring or in the fall, and that works with moisture levels. Planting in July is just a really, really stressful time to plant native plants. Um, So if you're planting in the spring and then you have a really low moisture spring, watering them for the first month or two is going to be a really good idea. Probably once a week is enough, but it just depends on if you've had any other moisture too. Um, and then in the fall, if you plant in the fall, which is my favorite time to plant, that will depend on how much moisture you have during the winter. And as you probably already heard again and again and again, it's been a really dry winter. And I actually watered our trees in December this year, y'all. That was weird. So that's something that there's no hard and fast rule, but if your soil is looking really dry, it's a good idea to water.
That sounds like a good rule of thumb. All right. What about strict natives versus native cultivars? Can you speak to that?
I can say that in my own yard, my preference is to use strict natives, but we do have some cultivars. My preference for that is just that sometimes with cultivars, it's not universal. It's the whole spectrum, but sometimes through the cultivar process, the flowering resources available shift. And so the flower might become a slightly more showy color, but produce less pollen or less nectar. And that's not, again, that's totally there's a whole spectrum. There's plenty of really showy, beautiful cultivars that also produce lots of pollen and nectar. In some cases, even more than straight natives. So it's not a hard and fast rule that strict natives are always more beneficial than a native cultivar. But I still it's just easier to go strict native so I don't have that open question about what this cultivar is like if I don't have experience with it, because it's not widely known, the impacts of those cultivars. So, but I also have the ability to do that because we have several native plant providers in the region that can provide those straight natives, and that isn't a possibility for all regions. So if what you have available is native cultivars, it's still going to be a benefit.
Thanks for that answer. All right. Couple people are interested on if either of you had tips or experience or suggestions for starting native plants from seed, specifically maybe in jugs over the winter.
Okay.
They haven't had much success in other seed starting methods or scattering in the fall.
That's a good question. Yep, seed scattering in the fall or winter can sometimes mean that there's seed predation that happens. Lots of seed gets eaten by wildlife, or sometimes it just doesn't germinate in the spring. I don't have personal experience using jugs, but I do have a colleague, Steve Armstead, who does. So I can connect you with him if you'd like. The I have always done broadcast seeding, or I've started seeds in trays, and then just set the trays outside so they're exposed to the cold, wet stratification, because that's really important for a lot of the native species in my region. So that's been my experience with starting from seed.
Thanks for that. Okay. Couple other questions. Rachel, you mentioned no mow May or attempting some version of no mow May in your yard. So a couple guests had questions about that, whether that was still something considered recommended to do, or is it more based on your region?
Yeah, I'll put in my 2 cents, and then I know Jennifer has had some experience with this as well. I think, people think of No Mow. We've never promoted it as like the end all be all, but just do No Mow and you've like done everything. It's really just one simple step that some people can take. And it doesn't make sense if you have no floral resources at all. Lawn doesn't really provide any habitat. And so for some people, it just doesn't make sense. And it depends also on where you live. It can be unruly, it can grow really fast, it can be really hard to manage. So for us, it makes sense because we have floral resources in the spring that we don't necessarily have anywhere else in our yard. And that's why we do it in just a section. So yeah, I would say it's just one step if it makes sense for you to do it, but there's so many other things that you can do as well. And it has caught on and brought a lot of attention and created a lot of conversation, which I think has been the biggest benefit of that campaign, that people are talking about it and thinking about it and how we can provide habitat. And that's always a good thing, in my opinion. So yeah, Jennifer, I know that you have had some experience with it as well.
I think that was great though, Rachel. My experience um, is along the lines of what Rachel mentioned. By the time May comes around in Nebraska, oftentimes our dandelions are done blooming and the violets are on the verge of being done, and the grass gets unruly if you let it go more than a week. So no mow isn't, it's not very implementable in our area, but it's a way in the door for some folks. So
Thank you both. All right. Adriana wants to know if either of you have tried and or had success in leaving paper wasp nests as a natural pest control.
um it depends on where they're located. If they're in a space in which if you accidentally disturb it, it won't be a threat, then they're great for controlling caterpillar pests in your garden, for example, and they're great hunters. They're great for biological control. But we have had experience because they're a social species, they do, and they build a small little nest, and all their resources are in there, including their babies. They are really defensive to protect it. And so that means that they will sting if you get too close. Um, and so if it is, for example, on an eave right by where you garden, it's probably not the best place to leave it from a human health standpoint. Um, but if it's in a place where you know about and you can avoid disturbing it, then I think that would be great. They really are pretty amazing creatures and fantastic for pest control.
Rachel, you unmuted. I just wanted to see if you wanted to add anything.
Nope.
Okay. Well, then, speaking of other animals in your garden, some people were wondering about that balance of sharing a garden with a dog. How any suggestions for managing dog pee or dogs trampling on plants? Shared experiences here.
Lots of yelling when I'm outside. Bear, get out of the garden bed. There's a large lilac tree right next to the garden bed that's been successful, and he loves to go up there and get up and, like, on the tree and bark, and often the squirrel's not even in that tree. I mean, barking up the wrong tree is, like, truly the perfect saying for our dog. I love him, but he's not the greatest hunter. He just doesn't, which is good. I don't want him to be hunting squirrels anyway, but I've thought about putting, like, a little fence up or something, but he's just gonna jump over it. I think our dog, at least, like, he is somewhat trainable, that when I am outside with him, I tell him not to go in there and he doesn't. But I don't know, I don't really have a good solution. Luckily, we have a big enough yard that he has other spaces to go to. Yeah, I don't know. That may not have been helpful at all.
I think what I will say is even less helpful. So I just had to get used to the disturbance provided by
Yeah.
the dog. She really loves to run through if there's something that she's interested in looking at, anything that moves, she'll run through to take a look. So if there are any plants in the way, they just have to get out of the way. And it's fine in the backyard because there's plenty of things that need disturbance back there. It's less fine in the vegetable garden, and we haven't figured that out, but probably a low fence around it is what we need. Um, Otherwise, we just got used to more disturbance.
Understandable. Yeah, I think getting used to it is probably what we all have to do.
Yeah.
All right. Mary would like to know, how did your neighbors react to either of your projects? Were they curious about what you were doing, and did it make them hopefully want to do something similar in their own yards?
A good question. We have had various responses. Some of our neighbors were really upset that we didn't remove the elm trees right away. They don't like that we still have our maple trees because leaves get in their yard. They don't like anything looking messy. And so we've tried really hard to like all go over and get rid of the leaves in their yard. And we try to be really mindful of that. And then on the other side, we had our elm tree like fall on our neighbor's roof and total his camper. And he's like, it's fine. It's not your fault. So we've had some various responses to things. And he doesn't care if like our lilac trees are overgrown, but we try to trim them back. Our backyard neighbor's not happy about our tree line. So we try to be mindful, keeping things on our property. But yeah, I think it's just having conversations with people and being respectful and recognizing that like it's not all about us. We want to be good neighbors. We want to have good relationships because hopefully, I mean, they've loved our garden. I will say they're like, your garden looks great and has said things. And I've brought up like, oh yeah, I work for Xerces and trying to improve our pollinator habitat. So I think just being kind, being mindful, and continuing to keep the door open for good conversations in the future. When I do have a house that looks like Jennifer, where I have this like beautiful, just explosion of pollinator flowers in the front yard that is, and it's complete inspiration. So that's where my mindset is like maintain those relationships so that going forward, they'll want to have a conversation about habitat to put in their yard.
We've had a also varied experience. On one side, we have neighbors who are um, naturalists in their free time, also, and volunteers, and really doing a lot of amazing work, and have also their own native plantings. And so that feels really wonderful for a lot of reasons. It's just always fun and inspirational to see what they're doing. And then we talk, yes, lots of conversations. It's wonderful. Um, in the backyard, we had neighbors who lived there previously who loved birds. And so we had a lot of mutual goals, and they didn't mind the forest of cut plant. And then also what also became a forest of Jerusalem artichoke, which I didn't talk about, but which is equally tall and dense back there. Um, eh, when um, when ownership changed, they did switch to a model of having somebody come in and do their yard work last summer, and that meant that that person ended up spraying a bunch of herbicides that drifted into our space, and so that will require some um, some hard conversations, I think, about how to balance that, recognizing that herbicides don't really stop at a fence line, and yeah, so.
Yeah, I think just having conversations, like you both have said, is a good way to start. All right. So many questions. I want to squeeze in just two more here. Um, do either of you or did either of you specifically incorporate any areas for ground nesting bees or have any suggestions on how to incorporate that into the native planting beds?
The side of our house is all just bare ground. We just naturally have a lot of bare ground and we put no effort into covering it. So I think we're lucky that we've just had that. I haven't noticed any ground nesting bees. I feel like I need to pay more attention to my yard. I feel like when I'm not working, I'm like out hiking and not at home. And when I am gardening, it's like I'm just doing not the bare minimum, but kind of like just doing the bare minimum. If I'm honest, I'm kind of like the less is more in my mind of like what's reasonable for balancing what else I'm doing in my life. But I need to pay more attention. But we do just naturally have a lot of bare ground. We don't feel like we need to cover everything with mulch or cover every bare inch that we have. And that's a goal of mine is to just pay better attention this spring and throughout the summer and just go out and investigate. Jennifer is just really inspiring to do that and go on iNaturalist and start putting things in that I'm seeing and observing. So I need to do a better job of that. It's a goal. I don't need to do a better job. It's just a goal of mine. I'm gonna stop beating up on myself.
Absolutely, Rachel. You're doing all the right things. You do not need to feel guilty. Um, I have not done anything specifically for ground nesting bees. I have seen them underneath plants, and they any little patch of bare ground they'll find, they'll use. We do have, I think I mentioned the lead problem, so we do try to keep a lot of the soil covered as much as we can. We do have a rocky area where we just have um, some rocks and they will nest under, kind of in the little bare patches in between. So um, they're there probably. Um, and springtime is a really good time to look for them too, because there are quite a few species that are really active in the spring. So a couple more months.
Soon. Thank you both. Okay. And some of that was perfect segue into this last one, this last question. Some inspiration. Some people are seeking some inspiration. What is something you've done or some advice you would give when you're in an especially frustrated condition after lots of intense gardening work and everything doesn't look the way you want it to or isn't going the way you want?
That's a great question. You could give it a little bit of time and space and see how it looks because things do change over time. And even though it might not have immediate results, sometimes it takes a little while for things to sort of sort themselves out, for plants to establish better, for plants to grow taller. Um, so you might just give it some breathing space and then give yourself some breathing space too to come at it with some different ideas if what you tried didn't end up with the results that you liked.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a lot to add to that. I think I'm all like huge advocate for mental health and gardening should be fun. Planting for pollinators should be fun. It should be an activity that inspires you and is something that makes you feel like you are making a difference in the world because you are. And so if you get to the point where you're not, just take a break, just step back from it. I've honestly even thought this spring, like, I'm going to do all these things. And I'm like, I think this is too much. And maybe I'll just pick one thing this year because I already feel overwhelmed just thinking about it. And that's
Yeah.
okay to just take a break.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't look good, that's okay too.
Yep. Thank you both. Thank you. Appreciate those encouraging words. I think everyone else does as well. All right. That's it for today. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your personal experiences, receiving so much love in the chat. And thank you all for joining us. I am sharing a link here to the new Bring Back the Pollinators webpage in the chat. Everyone can go visit that webpage to learn more. We also, as I can't remember which of you mentioned, but we have bug banter episodes that have already come out this year and will continue to come out the rest of the year about Bring Back the Pollinators. So be sure to check out xerces.org/bug banter for that, as well as our YouTube channel where we have a playlist all about Bring Back the Pollinators as well. So with that, thank you again so much, both of you. Everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.